Coming up today on Locked On at Texas Tech, if you blinked over the weekend, you might have missed a handful and then some of portal happenings. But that's why we're here. We got you covered. The only Texas Tech podcast in the world that never blinks.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're going to start this thing off right. Raider! Everything runs through Lubbock.
Great to be with you again on Locked On at Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use our code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match up to $100 at prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege. Daily fantasy sports made easy. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you. And it's a speed round today because we got so much to cover. A busy weekend on a portal front. What else did you expect? And we're diving right into it here today. Wanted to get into a couple of specific things, as you saw, not figuratively, but very literally, a big get in the tight end room. Want to ask you about that picture being close to or possibly complete. And then we see a departure from the group of running backs that probably also is sprinkling some tea leaves in his trail, but we'll discuss maybe what's to come for that position as well, with Cameron Valdez making his intention to enter the transfer portal known. But first, let's get to a general picture point of view, and we'll start with some thoughts on that from Red Raider head coach Joey McGuire.
With us coming in, even before anybody left, our expectations, we were going to sign 3 offensive linemen. We were going to sign 2 tight ends. We wanted 1 receiver. And then on the other side of the ball, we wanted a defensive tackle. We wanted a corner, like a true cover corner, because we're fixing to lose 2 older guys. We want to try to stay 4 in that room that we know can go play right now. And then best available. Like now you start looking at, well, this kid's really good. We always are going to look at somebody that can hit the quarterback as an edge guy. So you kind of go back and forth with that. But coming in, that was kind of our expectations, that we knew this is what we were going to lose. This is what we knew we were coming in with. We're fixed to sign somewhere between 22 and 24 high school guys. We signed, I think, 24 last year. And so as we build this roster from the ground up, this will be less and less. And we hope anyway, but again, it's the nature of the beast. And the tough thing right now is we're playing NFL football without a salary cap or really knowing what the market value is for certain players, because that's happening right now. And I always laugh because there might be somebody that's like this guess of, hey, this kid's getting in the portal. And you see it on social media, and I could probably tell you where he's going to go and how much he's going to get. And he's not officially in the portal yet. And so a lot of dirty business going on right now. Luckily, we haven't really been through that, but I know some teams are going through that right now.
The portal is just it's like the trade deadline and the draft, all kind of wrapped up into the same time. It's just like a ton of player movement, and there's not necessarily like a, okay, you're on the clock, you got to make your pick, or hey, you got to make a trade by this time, or no more. This is going to kind of stretch out, and it's tricky because things change. That's the part that would be really hard for somebody like Joey, whoever is a head coach of college football out there, is that you kind of have a plan, but the plan may change 10 to 15 to 20 times based on new info, new players getting in, new players leaving your team, and you've got to it's just this constant, process. And then there's the aspect of what he's kind of talking about what about market value and transparency and what's real, what is not. That is all extremely fascinating to me, but probably very frustrating to most directly involved with it, because you hear this kid is going to make, this amount of money or get this on an NIL deal at whatever school. But is that real? Is that just what they're saying? is that, and so you're just kind of, you don't really know. And that's what that's what Joey's saying right there is transparency, and just wanting to have everybody's cards on the table. I don't know if everybody knew that Shohei Ohtani was going to get $700 million from the Los Angeles Dodgers, but I knew that you knew you were going to have to pay a ton of money to secure his services. And yet I think that there's a lot of this going on in the college space where you just don't know. You just totally kind of best foot forward, or, this is what I'm willing to do for you. I don't know. It's a bit tricky.
You certainly, I believe, are thinking best foot forward immediately, because there's almost no chance to be like, all right, well, let's see if we can negotiate with the guy. Let's start with our lowest offer or something along those lines. And I guess it depends on, how much you really want the guy, obviously, to impact that as well. I want to get to an addition, as we mentioned, to the tight end room coming up in just a moment, that seemed to have a full court press put on him, had some blue blood suitors elsewhere. But first, Chris, we got a punter to talk about. We've got a defensive back that Tech hosted not too long ago, who's now going to be a Red Raider to talk about as well. And these are some positions that obviously you were trying to fill some big shoes.
Yeah, so you hear Coach McGuire say, and I think we need to remember, he said we came into this thinking we needed this, and he gives some numbers and some things like that. Well, I mean, has anything necessarily changed? Maybe, on needs or wants or whatever it may be, because I think that I don't think they came into it thinking Monroe Mills would leave necessarily. And so maybe that's now 4 to 5 offensive linemen instead of just trying to sign 3. Again, I just think you have to focus on we came into this and we expect to, those are kind of can be kind of blurry there. So, I think it could be different based on some of those numbers. Again, that was what he thought coming into the process. The process has been going on for a week and a half, 2 weeks. But yes, you got. So who do we want to cover here, Calvin? Because you got a punter. You've gotten a DB that I think is going to compete as a starter at corner, and you've got Austin McNamara's replacement. We talked about the quarterback addition last week, which was certainly something that you knew you needed. But the punter, it's a sneaky good addition in that this kid averaged 47 yards a game or 47 yards a punt. Jack Burgess from Weber State. He's got 1 year left to play for sure, maybe more. We'll see. I think he was like the FCS punter of the year nominee, or one of them. Big Sky punter of the league and all that, first team all conference in the Big Sky. So anyways, sneaky good addition. However, we don't like to punt, Jack, so we hope we don't use you too much. We're dice rollers on 4th down typically. So anyways, hopefully Jack does his part when asked, but hopefully he is on ice most of the time.
Great mustache as well. Just want to add that to his player profile for whatever that's worth. And Javon Jackson from Fairmont State, the DB, who you mentioned headed towards competing at a cornerback spot.
Yes. So I think Joey talked a lot about in the last press availability. AJ McCarty going to play star. There's a lot of movement as it relates to the safety positions, and so essentially somebody that they were looking to bring in was a corner. You've got Braylon Lux, you've got Jalen Peoples, and you've got Mo Horn on campus right now. But Javon Jackson will join that quartet, because Joey said, some of our guys, they know how to play corner and safety, or corner and star, or corner and whatever it may be. And so, there's some versatility there. But as far as like pure corner, I think that's what Javon Jackson will be asked to do, at least as it stands now. Some of this stuff will change in the spring, or we tried it. He's really better suited for, insert position here. But that's the way that I think you have it coming in. I believe he's got 2 years left to play. He's also 6'2", just under 200. So this is another bigger than normal, and this is why you trust with all these guys, you have to trust at some level James Blanchard and Brian Nance. They are trying to put things into a formula, trying to build relationships quickly and figure out, are you big enough? Are you fast enough for what we're looking for? We can attempt to teach you the rest, but also are you a good culture guy? Because this guy, apparently Javon is he's got an edge to him. He's a football, he loves the game and all that stuff. And so anyway, I think, but that's kind of, that checks a box there on, because you haven't really lost a lot on that side of the ball, just needing to rebuild your O-line certainly, and need to address some of the skill players on offense.
Yeah, competitive to the hilt, I guess is the word on Jackson, and some speed attached to that guy as well. So some common themes. Yeah, it's like Blanchard and Nance are just like Santa's elves working in the workshop. What are we going to come up with, boys? What's under the tree? What's under the tree? We'll find out eventually, but you got to trust they're in there hammering those nails to put those pieces
likes
together.
Charlie in the box.
We haven't signed a Charlie yet. Nope. Jalin is the next one we're going to talk about.
Or,
this is
what was the Island of Misfit Toys? What was
right.
that? Like a train with square wheels.
I seem to empathize more with the Island of Misfit Toys.
Yeah,
I gotta be
right.
honest.
Like,
I gotta be honest.
Yes.
How about Jalin Conyers, a guy we talked about last week? This is just a feel-good story. You always love to bring a young man back to the great state who left for whatever unknown reason. Groover, Texas, pride and joy. We've already got one of those on campus making an impact for the Lady Raiders, and had some blue blood suitors, as I mentioned. Sooners, Georgia Bulldogs on the list. And this is a dude that is really interesting even beyond tight end, Chris, because he has some different impact and some different packages at Arizona State that I thought was kind of interesting. As like a ball carrier. He's a very large man. So this is one I'm really intrigued by, to see maybe how Coach Kitley and company can use him. First, today's episode brought to you by eBay Motors. And eBay Motors has you covered with everything you need to maintain your vehicle and keep that ride or die ride on the road. Or if you're just looking to elevate your car's game to the next level of performance, they got what you're looking for, with roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, superchargers, and accessories of all kinds to fit your style. Whether you're looking for speed, power, or design, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts to perfectly fit what you need. So just head over today to ebay.com/motors, where you're going to always find exactly what you're looking for, and with no risk because of eBay's guaranteed fit. Your part is guaranteed to fit just right every time, or your money back, keeping you burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to keep your ride or die ride on the road and moving your life forward at ebay.com/motors. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, exclusions do apply. This is one I'm really intrigued by, to see maybe how Coach Kitley and company can use him.
This is extremely frustrating and exciting all at the same time. So hear me out here. I think this kid was on the cusp of joining you initially. Maybe it would have not been what anybody would have hoped initially, and he would have ended up finishing somewhere else. I don't know, but that part is frustrating. I'm just glad and excited that it comes full circle, and that he gets to basically come home. He's got a ton of or has had a ton of his friends that go to Texas Tech. I think there's a lot of Texas Tech connections there. This was largely I don't want to say a layup in the recruiting deal, but it just kind of, I don't know, some weird dynamics that went on during his initial recruitment. But yeah, started out at Oklahoma, played at Arizona State the last several years. But no, this was, and the only thing that I really hate about this is he just has the 1 year. Because I'd love to see like a larger sample size, but it is what it is. But yeah, 6'4", about 270 is what he's going to be listed at. And he played the Wildcat, or the Wild Devil. I don't know what they called it there for the Sun Devils last year. But yeah, I mean, he had 22 carries for about 92 yards. I mean, this is exactly, I could envision Zach Kitley, using this, because they this is kind of why you brought in the other quarterback who was a bit bigger to be able to have that kind of threat and not put your other quarterback maybe as much in harm's way, all those kinds of things. But yeah, he's a very talented athlete, and I think this is one of your more high profile additions and will be when all is said and done, because there was a lot of interest here in Jalin Conyers, but I'm just glad that it works out, because he and Mason Tharp, and then kind of whatever else you add to this position for next year is pretty exciting to think about.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that it happened what felt like so quickly too. I don't know what I expected necessarily, but
I think this is what this is kind of dream school for him. He's on record as saying that initially, and I just think he wanted a chance to play in front of friends and family, like on a regular basis. And, I think he'll get that chance. So, I mean, that's what is kind of fun about this whole thing is the portal worked out in a positive way here where he could kind of, come full circle.
Yeah. Okay. So Garden City tight end Alex Lyons was the first addition to that room.
Yes. And I forgot about Alex Lyons. Yes. See, you're going to have to, this is like, we almost see like a graphic on the screen that's going to remind me. But
just a live sheet the whole time.
But yeah, so those are your two tight end additions. I'm already kind of, my mind's down the road on like, okay, you need a lineman, you need receivers. Do you need another running back? And I'd forgotten about Lyons, who was last weekend's addition. So shame on me, but good on you for reminding me of that, because you would appear to be done there.
No shame in that game. That was the next question. I know we get into conversations, and Coach McGuire mentioned it about. Then you look at best available, and if a guy's a freak and he wants to come play football for you, kind of like Coach Tadlock says, if he can hit, we'll find a place for him to stand. I'm sure they can find a roster spot. But, you said it there. So the tight end conversation, for all intents and purposes, completed at this point, I guess.
I think so. But again, things change. But you feel. I think you would feel really good about that trio right there, because you've got small, medium, and large from the standpoint of classifications. They're staggered enough there. And so, but again, I say that you're going to have two guys that are in their last year, in Mason and Conyers. So, but it allows Trey Jackson to kind of grow up. Trey Jackson going to play for a state championship later this week for South Oak Cliff, and away you go. But now you got some youth and some versatility and some size and all the things that come with it. But now you just, your heavy focus continues to be on the offensive line, as it has been.
Yes. Okay. And this one coming across as well, at least a surprise to me. Curious to hear what you think about it. We saw Cameron Valdez announce his intention to enter the transfer portal. Where is this on the surprise scale, 0 to 10? Is it at all? And what does this now suggest about pursuing other ball carriers within this cycle, or is that a bridge too far, so to speak?
Okay, so the first thing that comes to your mind when you see that Cameron Valdez enters the portal was what?
First, today's episode brought to you by PrizePicks. Testing your skills on PrizePicks this football season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, and the best way to spice up any game anytime. And congrats to all those with the skills to win up to 25 times their money through the football year. And now you can do the same during the hoops calendar as well. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, place your entry, and boom, you're ready to roll. And with the NFL playoffs and bowl season coming up, you can also pick combo projections across football and basketball. With easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and a giant selection of players, projections, and stat categories, it's no surprise that PrizePicks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app. So get in on the fun and go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for a first deposit match up to $100 at prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege. Daily fantasy sports made easy.
The first thing that comes to your mind when you see that Cameron Valdez enters the portal was what?
Taj Brooks is going to be carrying the ball in 2024 for the Red Raiders. That is
same page.
Yeah.
I mean that's what I think. again, I just think it's another that one's a tea bag, not a tea leave. But I think that's a pretty.
The pot is yelling.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. No, that was my thought. Because I think that maybe he's become aware that geez, I guess maybe I'm not going to be the starter. I don't know. I mean,
that still surprises me, Chris, because and maybe I'm just expecting guys to be like too self-aware or something, or like think, because he didn't indicate this year that he was just going to burst into a like starting feature role, even if Brooks is gone. At least in my opinion, I don't know. And it's hard. It's easy to say when I'm not the person, right? Like
right.
I get that, but I was surprised by this. I don't know, and maybe I just wasn't reading the tea leaves correctly.
So here is the thing. I think he's actually going to play in this bowl game for you, with you. I think that he's still going through practices. I think he's still going to play in this bowl game. I think, and so that, like Loic, again, maybe kind of tells you what the thought process is, that maybe he's got still a decision to make and he's not just guaranteed to leave. But again, you and I are on the same page there. That's my read of the situation. We'll see if in due time, rather quickly, I would say, if we're right or not. But that was the first thing I thought of. Now, I will tell you, to add another layer to this, the Texas Tech had I believe another running back on campus from the portal, that one that was well over 1,000 yards, that visited over the weekend. Now, when push comes to shove, if this kid's like, I want to come here, do you go, okay, let's do it? And then at that point, Cameron Valdez's spot may be taken up. Maybe you go, okay, you don't have the option to return here. I don't know how you play that game. That's tricky when you're dealing. But again, when you enter the portal, it's like all bets are off.
Yeah,
all bets are off, and maybe he is going to. He just wants to play in the bowl game, and he is going to bail out. After that, and leave and go look for something elsewhere. Because the thing about Valdez is, we know it was this. It's a tease of sorts, in that, boy, there's some potential there. It's a different running style. However, had a hard time staying healthy, had a hard time getting in a rhythm. And if the carries being doled out was any indication, I just don't know how much was going to change next year if, in fact, Brooks were to return. So because Cameron also is not necessarily big enough yet or durable enough yet to like do all the things that Brooks does from a pick up the blitz and the physicality of the position standpoint. And I think that your visitor this weekend is a 200, slightly over 200 pounds, and has some of that in his game. And so I don't know, kind of makes you wonder where we're going here. So maybe Cameron Valdez is just a Red Raider for the better part of a week, and then you salute and move on. I don't know, but we're thinking the same. There's still some decisions to make, I gather. So yeah, and I'll tell you, they're very excited about the freshman coming in. I want to make sure that Cameron Dickey, I think, there's some, Jacoby Williams. I think there's some really excitement about the juice those guys bring.
I thought it was really interesting, and no knock on a guy so early on in his career to not yet be bursting through the feature backdoor. And I would absolutely love for him to be a piece if he wants to be a piece in the future. But it looks like it is, I don't want to say change of pace necessarily, but he is more a compliment than the alternative right now. At least that's what I would anticipate heading into 2024. And it was apparent what situation seemingly the coaching staff felt confident having him on the field within. Or not, as you just alluded to there. The picture was not complete just yet, but we'll see if he's able to complete it in red and black or elsewhere. And definitely something to keep an eye on, as you've alluded to other running back considerations. A couple other interesting odds and ends discussed by Coach McGuire a couple of days ago I wanted to touch on with you. One of those we're kind of getting into right here with, say, Valdez and some others. But the thought of having guys who have announced or entered their name into the transfer portal still in the football facility, participating in some things. Some guys that are not going to play in the bowl game. Coach McGuire was asked about that, and he kind of alluded to the fact that, these are Red Raiders basically until they're not. A lot of them have done a lot of good things for this program. And that sounded a little unique to me, Chris. I just wondered, how many places across the country is that going on where you've got some, I don't know, is it just goodwill towards your fellow man or what's happening? Because I was a little surprised to hear that some were still hanging around.
Yeah, I think, Joe, there's a variety of ways you can handle this. And I think Joey just trying to do the right thing and trying to, I don't know, like pay it forward. It's kind of like, think about it in these terms. Like when you're recruiting a high school kid and they don't pick you, it would be dumb to go, well, screw you, man. Like I don't ever call me again. In fact, lose my number. I mean, you made the dumb, burn the bridge essentially, because with the portal, they go where they're going to go, and they go, man, I really like the way Coach McGuire and his staff treated me. I think I'd like to finish up my career there. So you don't ever want to burn a bridge. In most of these situations, I don't think you want to burn bridges, because there's going to be some scenarios where guys go, you know what? I looked out there. I wanted to see what would come my way, but man, it's best for me right here. Would you have me back? Kind of deal. And I just think it's the right thing to do. I'm sure there's examples to the contrary. Like if it's if there's some things said, or if you depart the program in a different light, if there's some reasons why you hit the portal that are like non-football related, I can see where there's some situations where you wouldn't be allowed to. But like, because what you're talking about is that, Loic is still going to play in this thing. And I still think there's a chance he could return and play for you. So we'll see. Valdez, we've discussed that. But, because the reason this was brought up is Tyler Shuck was in there throwing to Nehemiah Martinez. Tyler Shuck's already committed to Louisville, and I bumped into him, and I was coming into the facility, the other day, or not the facility, but for media availability, and that's where he was walking in to throw. And I said, dude, I already done a radio interview about you in Louisville, Kentucky. They called me and they asked me about you and all this stuff. And he said, man, it's a good fit. And I thought that his line to me back was funny. He's like, well, I still get to wear red and black, and it'll be Adidas, just like these guys will be wearing. So I'm going to feel at home, which I thought was funny because Louisville's an Adidas school. But, yeah, he's a super easy kid to root for. But then you look up and he's throwing to Nehemiah Martinez, and just kind of staying sharp and all that stuff. Again, both guys in the portal, one committed elsewhere. So that's just Joey's philosophy, and I think that's probably the right way to do it. Is not don't get mad, I mean, just it's just part of it. And as he says, these guys all did a ton for me when I first got here. So at least I can do is, help them as well as they're trying to figure things out.
But clean your own jock strap. That's on you now, boys. Maybe there are a couple of changes like that.
That's fair. Yeah,
bring your own socks, whatever it might be.
Yeah, you can't eat our stuff. You can't. Yeah, that's probably fair.
Oh, who wants a ribeye, boys? Nope, sorry, that's NCAA violation. Okay, I'm sorry, Tyler. We got a ham sandwich for you over there. Yeah, and Tyler's a pretty unique case unto himself, but I thought that was interesting to hear about, and also interested to hear about. And not often we'll be spending a ton of time like deciphering what's going on with a backup left tackle. Matt Keeler, his name was brought up. A guy that had been reported on being into the portal or intending to hit the portal, and Coach McGuire put the brakes on that, it sounded like.
Yeah, that's where some lines got blurred, is that, I think there was some mentions of his name. We mentioned that. I think there was some rumors there. It still could happen in the spring. But he's not in the portal. Joey went out of his way to indicate that he is not in the portal right now. But I mean, is it best for him to do that maybe in the spring? Possibly, gotcha. But he's practicing with the team now, Joey says, and all that stuff. And so that's why, I think it's interesting because with the way that this stuff is reported or discussed, because I think, I was initially like, intends to was the report, which didn't surprise us, because I think we'd even mentioned his name as a possibility, but he's not in the portal yet and may not ever go. People around Matt Keeler will tell you he loves it at Texas Tech. He can't wait to get his degree. this has been a great experience for him. But, in time, if he wants to play more, maybe elsewhere is best, but that we're not there yet.
It is a crazy time at the football facility. Willie Mays Hayes would love this, being there in his PJs. If you just think you may have a chance to sneak onto a roster, this may be the time for you to show up at the indoor training facility and just run a few routes, see if you can turn some heads. Because, okay, which one of these guys is playing for us? Is that guy still on our team? Who the hell is Willie Mays Hayes? You know what I'm saying. All right.
He got right out of the bed in his pajamas and ran the 40 down the yep.
Cream rises to the top, right?
Then he was nailing batting gloves to the wall after every stolen base.
Say hey! All right. Yeah. We got to say goodbye because we have run out of time. Chris,
great catch. Don't ever do it again. There's some colorful language in there, but yeah. Okay, sorry. I could keep going.
This is a family program, mostly. Yeah. Appreciate the insight and the time as always, man. Enjoyed it. And we're back on the other side to do it again.
Yeah, keep hope alive, everybody. Again, head on that swivel. Make sure it stays there. We got a bowl game to talk about and a hoops game coming up early this week for the Red Raiders and Oral Roberts. So we'll be back tomorrow to break it all down. That's right. Not a matchup to sleep on the hardwood. And, of course, we'll begin to set the table for the Cal Golden Bears, fit in the description of the next potential victim come Shreveport time later this week. So stick with us. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. We hope to see you back here for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.